Hyperia is the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the United Kingdom. It is located at Thorpe Park Resort and has overtaken the big one's previous 30-year height record by over 23 feet. And it also overtook Stealth's speed record by a measly 1 mile an hour. It's been one of the most anticipated coasters in the UK theme park community for the last 2 years since the inception of its plans. However, after riding it, I've finally determined whether it's worth its hype. Yes, it certainly is. The first turn of the ride is a solid element. Not only does it look great in the queue line to see the train traverse it, making it quite a visual spectacle, it builds up excitement through this. The anticipation in the queue line, especially because it's towards the end of just seeing the train after train leave, really adds to the experience. It is actually quite forceless on the ride itself, but it is nice to actually see all the people traverse it in the train, and especially on opening day when people were cheering it. It was just so nice to be on the train and to look out at people and just see the ride. It really builds excitement in the queue line and on the ride itself. After that turn, you start to travel up the lift hill. It's quite a fast lift hill, and towards the top of it you see some great views of London to the left, including Heathrow Airport, and on the right you can see the rolling hills of the countryside. It's definitely the most visually impressive ride at the park to look at and to ride. Think of Stealth, but you can see all around you. You've got upper body movement, you can look your head from side to side, and you're up there a bit longer. The first drop produces amazing ejector airtime. You feel out of your seat the entire way. There's no other way of saying it. You feel like you're going to fly off the ride. It feels like a beyond vertical drop because of the twist. I know it isn't, but it feels like that beyond verticalness on Saw, and the lap bar means you can feel your entire body move, making the airtime much stronger. As the drop continues into the twist, you definitely get pulled to some laterals to the side. The back row was really strong on this element. The airtime's good at the front. It's a bit slower at the start though, so you don't get quite the same snap of airtime. That's definitely why I think this is a back row coaster. After the drop, you've got the Immelman. You go into what appears to be a loop, however it stops inverting halfway through it. This produces amazing lateral G-forces, as well as more airtime. If you hadn't noticed by now, this ride is going to be packed with airtime. It's definitely the focus. It's also more intense. The pacing of this ride is brilliant. After that drop, you do not get time to recover. You get the airtime, you come down, you get some positive G-forces at the bottom, and you're straight back into negatives. After this Immelman, you hit the outer bank turn. This is probably the most confusing element on a ride I've ever rode. It produces moderate airtime throughout it. It's not the most forceful element through that respect, but it produces great lateral G-forces. The inversion itself is pretty cool. You come in facing forwards and you end up backwards and upside down. There's not really a set point where you realise you're twisting, so especially on your first ride it's just surprising. It's just an experience I haven't had on a coaster before, and I really like it. It's probably one of my less favourite elements on the ride, because it's not quite as strong with the airtime. It's a bit more floatery. You're not thrown out your seat, but you definitely are a bit out your seat. So yeah, that's a great element, and this ride is just hit after hit. It's world class, there's no doubt in that. After that crazy outer bank, you turn into a stall. I wasn't actually sure of how this element would be from the animated POV. It looked like it could be a bit slow, maybe not forceful. However, what I discounted was the hang time you get. You're up there for a solid 3-4 seconds. You can see it off the ride. It looks crazy seeing the train go through. It's one of my favourite moments to look at, especially on camera. It just looks brilliant. The lap bar restraint gives you more feeling. You can feel your upper body falling towards the ground and you're just being held in by your legs. This is definitely the best hang time in the park, even when compared to the quadruple heartline rolls on Colossus, which are pretty strong there. But that's just not the same consecutive amount of hang time. It definitely, you will love that element. The splashdown after that's a fairly cool visual effect. It's quite cool seeing the water jet shoot up. However, the trims do hit quite hard. You definitely get pushed in your seat. The timing of the water jets, I'd like them to move them a bit forwards. I know it's designed to look cool, but if they move them a bit forwards, especially for the sun months, you might get hit with slightly more water because you only really get a splash in the back row. It's a bit like the water effect on Saw the Ride, it just doesn't hit you that much. After this set of trim brakes, the Stangle drive is insane. You feel you're being pulled towards the ground and to your left. First time, I don't know, I haven't ridden a Hypercoaster by Mack or Intamin before, but this moment, great. It's a great element. You're just thrown out your train. It's the train's moving and it feels like you're not. It feels like you're staying, going up, and the train's just coming down below you, when in fact you then get pulled back down with it, giving it some insane airtime. After this angle drop, you end in the airtime hill. It's sort of, the ride ends as it went through its entire ride. It ends with some airtime. This is a bit more moderate airtime towards the front, however in the back it's much stronger. I'm really happy here. They did a great thing in ensuring that the front of the train hits the brakes after the back went through it, meaning the entire train does get decent airtime here. Overall, the ride is airtime heavy. It's got two hard hitting inversions that really add to it. It's not like a B&M Hyper where it's just airtime, and it's much stronger airtime than you'd get on a B&M Hyper. The layout has little dead spots. Pretty much every element there's an argument for it being world class, and that clearly displays that it is the best ride in the country. I don't think anything else comes close, and I'm not sure anything else will come close for a good 5 years at least. Another important point to look at with Hyperia is how comfortable it is. Historically, the UK theme park industry has been a bit behind with ride comfort. We've kind of stuck with over-the-shoulder restraints a lot longer than Europe and America have. However, this ride has the most comfortable lap bars I've seen. The trains on Hyperia are amazing. The lap bars do not clamp down at all. It's not like Swarm where you get tightens during the ride. They're comfortable throughout thanks to that. Headbanging's not an issue. The seats are physically too far. I can't actually hit my head on the seats, even if I was to try to. I looked on the brake run. You're not going to hit your head. It's going to be a comfortable ride, especially compared to Saw or Colossus. The entire ride, the design of the trains, the gold pops out compared to the supports. I'm not a fan of the gold. It's a bit dark for me. But the trains, the gold looks brilliant. It's shiny, especially once the sun comes out, and in golden hour, it's just so vibrant and it really picks up in photographs and in person. The seats themselves are nice, they're high up. I'm 6 foot and I can't actually touch the floor throughout most of the layout. This gives it more freedom, and it also means that if you are taller, especially taller than me, your feet aren't touching the floor. You can sit in a normal position on the seat and not have to worry about sitting with your legs at an angle, meaning that if you're taller, it's definitely a comfortable ride. One thing I've also noticed, so I don't know anyone who experiences it themselves, but the ride is very kind with arm amputations thanks to the lap bars compared to the other coasters at Thorpe Park, so it's definitely a good ride to look at. I know many people were upset about the lack of theming, but realistically, it's not the focus of the ride, the layout is. It does have very little theming on the ride itself, but I actually think the storyline was quite well executed. The show's well done. I think it's definitely the strongest I've ever seen at any Merlin park. The theme, the story, the colours throughout Fearless Valley itself are very well done. The ride itself in the area has little theming. It's stylised, it's being landscaped nicely. I think once it grows in a bit, it's going to look really nice. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a hypercoaster. Hypercoasters aren't known for their theming. Even at Europa Park, the actual ride itself runs through a car park, and that's known as being one of the most themed parks in the world. So I definitely think that the ride layout makes up for the lack of theming, and I mean, you wouldn't get a chance to look at it anyway on ride, so it just doesn't matter, it's great. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you for watching this Hyperia review. It's definitely my favourite ride in the country, and I've said that many times, but that's just how strong I feel on this. Make sure to like and subscribe, it'll help the channel out, it'll give me motivation to make better and better content for you guys. And if you haven't ridden Hyperia yet, I really hope you enjoy it when you do. I'm sure you will, and I'd definitely recommend making a trip to Thorpe Park, even if you're in Europe or America. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.